So I am going to go on an errand in just a moment. If you are watching these and keeping up with them, like while I'm doing it, you'll know. But if not, you won't. So, anyway, the thing is I may be finishing some of this tonight, but at least that'll show you that you can do it that way. So I went in and I put my little trees in, my happy trees in the background. And what I want you to see is that the bottoms of these, I don't want it to stress you out, that the bottoms of these are, they're so jaggedy because they're going to go away, all right? So the dark mixture that I made, I am putting my 1-inch or my 2-inch brush into that. And I'm going to go across here and just dab with it horizontally. And look how I am turning some of that into my meadow. I wanted you to see that so you'd see where we're going with it. Now I'm going to come over here and get more. And I do not really want it to just end right here. I may do it here. Let's see. Maybe I'll make it kind of come this way. So if you saw my video where I'm using, what was that called again? Evergreen Valley. Then you see that I am not trying to stick to that. I'm using it for inspiration, and you can do that too. It's your world, right? But I want this to look like a beautiful meadow, and in order to do that, we have to go in and tap this grass in. Okay, so here's that 2-inch brush, and I have tapped this. And a lot of people say, well, why can't you just paint it? The reason you don't just paint it like that is you need that texture. Okay, I just stuck my finger in paint. Oh dear, happens a lot. So I'm wiping my brush. Wipey-dee, wipey-dee. Now, a lot of times I will have an older brush because I've been painting a while, and then I have a new brush. And I use the older brush sometimes to do my underpainting, and then I use a newer brush to do the highlights. So what I'm also telling people about today, if you're new to this, please go back to the first one that I did, because I started with a white blank canvas, okay? And I put the liquid white on, and then the sky and all that, and just moving forward. I'm just breaking this into a bunch of little chunks, okay? So here we go. Now what I've done is I've gotten my 2-inch brush, and I went in and got some green. So if you're taking a Zoom class with me, not only will I show you how to load my brush, I get you to show me your brush, okay? Because it's important that you load your brush properly. Also too, like you might have paint sometime that's a little bit too thick, and if you have too thick a paint, then I can help you with some of the roadblocks you might face. I can help you to resolve those. And so it happens sometimes. So you might have an older tube of paint, like a tube of paint that's dried a little bit. I mean, I've noticed with, you know, the Bob Ross paints that I've had them for years, and I haven't had much of a problem. But what I just noticed is my cadmium yellow paint was just a little bit stiff, and I wanted it to be a little softer. So Bob, sometimes he would add a little liquid white to the paint, or he would add a little paint thinner. So I put a little paint thinner. I have my paint thinner in this lovely bucket here, and this is the Bob Ross odorless paint thinner. And I usually keep it closed up, because just because it's odorless doesn't mean you need to smell it, okay? You really don't need to. So I'm just working that into some of my cadmium yellow to make it a little bit thinner. So these are tips that I can give you in depth on Zoom or on, I'm also looking at Patreon. I would love feedback about Patreon because I was really going to do Patreon, and I think because it's such a different platform, I kind of backed off a little bit. So now I'm wiping that knife because I like to keep it pretty clean. Okay, and now I am wiping my brush. I did load it with a little bit of glean, and what I've got here, I'm going to tilt my palette up. Here's my green, and this was that same brush that I had some of that dark color on, and then I went into the green. I like how that dark color kind of makes this green a little richer. And then I'm going to come in and get a little bit, and you can push that brush, and what you're going for is, I call them goobers. See those tiny little pieces? All right, so I'm going to come right across here. Maybe I'll start here, and I could make that a little brighter yellow, so I'm going to get a little bit more yellow. You know, sometimes you see it on your, I'm going to start here. You see it on your brush or on your palette, but you really don't know until you get actually to the canvas. So here's my paper towel, and I'm going to use my brush and just drag the very tips of that onto the paper towel, because when you do that, it helps you to clean off some of that you picked up. So what I want this to look like is a very distant meadow that has slightly rolling hills, okay? And if you notice, when I do this, I'm doing it very lightly. 3 hairs and some air, or just like a whisper. Those are words I think that Bob used for the sky. So, but it's okay, we can still use them. But very light touch. Very light. La la la. You want to still be able to see some dark under there. You save the dark is your friend, okay? And Bob says that. He's like, don't lose your dark. Don't cover up the dark, because we worked hard to put the dark in. And so we really need to promote the dark. Not promote it, but keep it there. Don't just do away with it. Okay, now if you notice, I didn't pull down the reflections, so you might be like, what? You did what? Reflections happen obviously when you have a body of water, and I'm going to, I wiped a little bit, wiped most of this off. I didn't really work really hard at it, but what I'm going to do is go in and pull down reflections. Now some of this might end up being land, some of it might end up being water, but the thing is that by me pulling it all down, and then I'm going to run on my errand, and then I'm going to come back, I can be thinking about it. And also, this is something that's going to help you too when you paint. Sometimes you got to get up, stretch your legs, walk away, and then look at it from a distance. I make my students do that sometimes. If you're on a Zoom class with me, I might say, hey, insert name here, why don't you get up and walk away and stand at it, look at it from a distance, okay? So try that every now and then, and look away. Don't back up looking at it. Just go look at something else, even for 5 minutes. Pet your cat or something like that, and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes, and then you'll be like, oh, it looks great, it looks awesome. Or you might be like, I see what it needs now, okay? It really helps. So I'm going to come in here and just pull down. I'm grabbing some of that darker underpainting, and I'm pulling some of this other. So I'm basically making that back there a lot less thick, right? But that's okay. And notice how it's not all one. It's not like it's a straight line. That's very important. Might even kind of really accentuate that a little bit more on purpose in some places. It's important. I'm going to wipe my brush. I will show you water lines. Oh, I don't know, I'm about to run out of time. I tell you what, I'll show you water lines too. This is a little bit longer video, but I'm wiping my brush, just really wiping it, and I'm going to hold way back here, and I'm going to brush across. Okay. I think what I'll do is I'm just going to throw in a few little tiny water lines so that this looks kind of halfway sort of finished. I don't want them to look like they're just floating there. But then in my next segment, I will go into more detail with the water lines, okay? I'll give you some to go on because I'm running out of time. But I get a tiny roll of paint, okay? Tiny, that might not look really tiny. It's more like this. And I come right under here and scoochity scoochity. And I'm just gonna do it everywhere because in my world, I don't really know what I'm doing next. You don't have to know what you're doing next either. Just play. Don't feel stress. It's okay. It's just a canvas. It's just the actual trying this is gonna ease your mind. It takes your mind off everything else. Okay, so no worries. Make it right in here. Okay, I'll talk more about it later. All right, but I'm going to let you go because I've gone over time like 3 minutes. I hope you're having a blast. I hope you join me in a class on Zoom or in person. My website's www.paintwithfaye.com, and Instagram is paintwithfaye. And I'm also starting a TikTok, Paint with Faye also. So thank you so much for joining me, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.